Hi and welcome to this video blog with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. Well, I'm back from Sal and the sunshine, but while I was there I had a cold throughout the week that I blogged about before I went, with the horrible conditions in Watford Pool in terms of heat and humidity. But since I've come back, I've had a video response from the free swimming sessions analysis that I offered a couple of weeks back. Well, I thought, as someone's bothered to respond, I'll obviously do the bothering again and analyse their stroke. So we will go over to the computer in a second and do that. Next week, whatever happens, I will deal with speed in triathlon. I've been building this up and building this up. It'll be hopefully something worth waiting for. But we will deal with this particular swim analysis, and if anyone else comes along, I'll deal with it in future weeks. I'm not going to continue just week after week doing the analysis on one person. So we'll head over to the computer and we'll see what analysis we can do for Jim. Thanks very much.
Okay, so here we are watching Jim come down a rather nice rooftop pool. And what you'll see is, except when he breathes, Jim has a very wide recovery arm. And a wide recovery arm tends to lose balance somewhere else in the stroke. You can see this. It's also fairly hand-centric. He's moving his hand forward. It looks like he's moving his hand forward as opposed to moving his arm forward. You almost got there a sort of curved position in the body, which we'll look at in a little bit of detail shortly. But if you look at this arm coming through, you can see it's fairly wide, and that wide stance stroke recovery tends to mean that it's difficult to balance up the whole stroke. It's much easier when that elbow is high and the hands drooping down, coming through close to the centre line. Okay, we're just going to take a look at Jim here, and you'll see from behind, you can tell his legs are going off to the left side here, and you can see the bend to the right side there. So there's a good deal of movement in his body that we actually don't want, because we obviously want everything round the spine in that central position, but rotating completely round the spine from left to right without moving outside the body width, as you just saw there. Now, part of that sideways movement is because of lack of rotation. If we look at Jim's body here, his hips are quite flat and his shoulders are quite flat as his hand drives back to the final phase of the underwater part of the stroke, and he has to shift his hips sideways to a certain extent to get them out the way of that hand driving back. So we'll just run through that again. You can see here the hands virtually at the back end of the stroke, but the hips haven't rotated completely out the way and the shoulders haven't rotated either. So we have a problem of lack of rotation, and that's something obviously Jim can work on. We've now skipped forward a little bit, and we're just going to have a look at Jim's arms and his hand-centricness. Now if you look at the speed of these two traces, you'll see that the hand really rushes forward fast. Really well ahead of the elbow speed. And if we just take that back all the way through, you can even see going back the movement of the elbow, which is traced there, is so much shorter than the movement of the hand. Let's go back all the way through. And again, each point of movement of the elbow is far exceeded by the movement of the hand as the hand is driven. You can see these points going backwards as the hand is driven forward much faster than the elbow. This is going back quite slowly. Obviously my computer's running a bit slowly, but as you see it going backwards, you can see there's a point at which the hand becomes the sole focus of Jim's recovery. And really we want the shoulder and the upper arm to be the focus of the recovery. And you can see it there. The movement of the elbow is being superseded by the movement of the hand. We'll just run that at full speed once it gets all the way back. Okay, so now have a look at the speed of the elbow versus the speed of the hand on both arms as that goes through. You can see that acceleration in the middle, then it slows down again. An acceleration, and it slows down again. We don't want that acceleration. We want the, as I said, the recovery to be led by the shoulder and the upper arm, and we don't want to slow down either. We want a fairly even-paced, reasonably fast recovery. So that's something Jim can work on as well. Jim also sent us some open water footage of his swimming, quite useful. Interestingly, his stroke rate in the pool was about 60 strokes a minute, whereas his stroke rate in open water was about 68. So he actually speeds up his stroke rate when he's in open water. Now I just want to go back here. The hand-centricness of his swimming creates this huge amount of water that he's splashing as his arms go forward. Now you look at this, whoa, that water's splashing out. Now that can't be good. If you're picking up water, then you're actually driving yourself either downwards or backwards. Now we're going to see this trace come in, and we'll have a look at that for the hand-centricness of it, and you can see that acceleration of the hand as it goes over. So we need a much higher, there we go, exactly the same on the other side as well. So we need a much higher recovery with the elbow high and the hand low, and just literally dragging the hand forward. Finger drag will actually do a lot to help Jim with his recovery position there. We've shifted this forward a bit to the other side when he's swimming back, and I really stopped it here because you can see the curvature, virtually see the curvature in the spine there. And when you're swimming, you really want an absolutely straight spine with everything rotating about that straight spine. So your shoulders, your chest, your waist, your hips rotate around that spine, which is kept absolutely straight, even your head. And it rotates in a plane, so the shoulders, chest, waist, hips rotate at the same time. Separate your head and that rotates independently, but obviously at the same time you can't do anything else with your head. We don't want any twists in this spine, so let's take this slightly forward again. I'm just going to stop it as we get to the back end of this stroke. You can see the legs are splaying, and that's partly due to an imbalance here. He's having to get his hips out the way because they're not rotated. But if you look at this splash as it comes forward, you can see that hand-centricness. Now, the arm at the point when the elbow is level with the shoulder should be down here, or at worst level. Even if it was a straight arm, your straight arm would be level with your shoulder and your elbow at that point, so they'd be in a plane, if you like. The second arm, which is ahead, was nicely positioned, but it's moved away from that nice positioning there. And really that should stay on the surface until the point at which the elbow passes the shoulder. Now, so that's moved away fairly quickly, and all this imbalance causes that leg splay at the back, and that huge splash, as I say, is because of the hand-centric nature. If instead you raised the elbow up, pulled the elbow forward with the use of the shoulder and the upper arm, your other hand at this point, or your hand at this point, would still be level with your elbow. That hand, if it was on the surface then, would be able to make a good catch as you rotate back from that position to a level position. But right now your hand's back there, it hasn't really had much of a chance to stroke. So effectively a lot of that movement has been wasted. Right, so just to recap, Jim really has to work on his rotation so that at the back end of his stroke he actually doesn't have to shift his hips aside. They're naturally out the way because they've rotated. If at the same time, Jim, you push your chest into the water, your legs will actually get closer to the surface, and you'll actually have a slightly nicer position in the water there. The rotation will also help your breathing. Then work on the hand-centric nature of your swimming, and make sure that you raise your arm from your elbow as opposed to your arm from your hand, and try and make that the center of focus. You saw all that splash there. When you're working forward, do not move your leading arm, the arm that's not stroking, before your elbow passes your shoulder. And at that point, as we say, your hand should be behind your, or at worst level with your elbow. Just taking this back a little bit to see where that hand left the surface. You can see it does there. So it's very hand centric. So pushing your chest into the water, rotating nicely, and really relaxing the hand and elbow as you come through, including the shoulders, will improve your stroke, I think, quite dramatically. You obviously have a fairly good engine because you keep a high stroke rate, as we've said before. And improvements in your swimming technique will obviously improve your times and the actual finish of your triathlon swim in any race. Okay, so hopefully that's helped. You need to do kicking on your side with rotation, finger dragging, and to a certain extent single arm with kickboard to make sure you get that really nice catch and the high elbow. Okay, and thanks very much, Jim.
Okay, well, with speed in triathlon and the Olympics coming up, we're going to have quite a few things to discuss in the next few weeks, so we definitely won't come back to analysis at least until the middle to end of August. I would think the end of August. We'll be dealing with other topics then, but thanks very much for watching this. Hopefully you found it useful as well as Jim, and I'll see you shortly. Thanks very much.